Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Everybody please stand up. We are going to have a Sandhya Aarti in the glorification of the Lordships. Everybody please stand up. Kiba jayo jayo gora chande aratik shobha. Kiba jayo jayo aratik shobha. Kiba jayo jayo gora chande आरतिक शोभा की जय जय चंदे आरतिक शोभा जानविताटावाने जगमन लोभा Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Ki badaki ne nitai cha vame gadadhara. Ki badaki ne nitai vame gadadhara. Ki badaki Ai chan vame gadadhara kibadaki vame gadadhara nikate advaita shrini vasa chatradhara nikate advaita vasa chatradhara kiba bosi ache gaurachan ratna simhasane 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 आरती कोरे न ब्रह्म कोरी चामर दुलाया कि बनरा आदि कोरी लाया संजय मुकुंदा बासु घोषादि गाया संजय मुकुंदा बासु घोषादि गाया कि बशंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला कि बशंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे कि बशंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला कि बशंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला मधुरा मृदुंगा बाजे परम रसाला शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंखा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे गौरांगे आरती के शोभा जग जन मन लोभा गौरांगे आरती के शोभा जग जन मन लोभा गौरांगे आरती के शोभा जग जन मन लोभा जग जन मन लोभा जग जन मन लोभा लोभा नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल कि बहु कोटि चंद्रजिनी वदन उज्ज्वला कि बहु कोटि चंद्रजिनी वदन उज्ज्वला कि बहु कोटि चंद्रजिनी वदन उज्ज्वला कि बहु कोटि शिव शिवा शुक नारदा प्रेमे गदा गदा शिव शिवा शुक नारदा भक्ति विनोदा देखे गौरार संपदा भक्ति गौरार संपदा शिव जयो जयो गौर चंदे आरतिक शोभा की बजयो जयो गौर तिक शोभा की बजयो जयो गौर चंदे आरतिक शोभा की बजयो आरतिक शोभा जानवी काटावाने जगमन लोभा नम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, सुदर्शन चक्र जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय गौरानिताय 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्री प्रभुपाद की जय प्रेम से गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन मायापुर धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय अयोध्या धाम की जय राधा नील माधव भगवान की जय महाशिवरात्रि महामहोत्सव की जय गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय कलिका पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय सामय वेद भक्त वृंद की जय ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled duties all glories to the assembled duties all glories to the assembled duties all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada की
नमस्ते भगवान की, भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की।
Shorter, make this shorter. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Maha Mantra Ki Jai. So thank you very much for coming tonight. And I wish you all very happy evening today on Shiva Ratri. Lord Shiva is a very, very special transcendental personality, almost equal to Krishna. Very little difference between Krishna and Lord Shiva. So tonight we're going to hear some interesting things about Lord Shiva and glorify him, because Lord Shiva is very, very merciful person. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Canto 4, Chapter 4, Text 16, it says, "Do you think that greater, more respectable personalities than you, such as Lord Brahma, do not know the inauspicious person who goes under the name of Lord Shiva? He associates with the demons in the crematorium. His locks of hair are scattered all over his body. He is garlanded with human skulls and smeared with the ashes from the crematorium. But in spite of all these inauspicious qualities, great personalities like Brahma honor him by accepting the flowers offered to his lotus feet and placing them with great respect on their heads." Well, that should give you an idea how glorious Lord Shiva is. That although he seems to be engaged in what would say normally would be considered unholy activities, but he's the holiest of the holy. And in the explanation of this verse, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada writes, "It is useless to condemn a great personality like Lord Shiva." And this is being stated by his wife, Sati, to establish the supremacy of her husband. First, she said, "You call Lord Shiva inauspicious because he associates with demons and crematoriums, covers his body with the ashes of the dead, and garlands himself with the skulls of human beings. You have shown so many defects, but you do not know that his position is always transcendental. Although he appears inauspicious, why do personalities like Brahma respect the dust of his lotus feet and place on their heads with great respect those very garlands which are condemned by you? Since Sati was a chaste woman and the wife of Lord Shiva, it was her duty to establish the elevated position of Lord Shiva, not only by sentiment, but by facts. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. This is the conclusion of Vedic scriptures. He is neither on the level of the Supreme Personality Godhead, nor on the level of the ordinary living entities. Brahma is almost all cases an ordinary living entity. Sometimes, when there is no ordinary living entity available, the post of Brahma is occupied by an expansion of Lord Vishnu. But generally, this post is occupied by a greatly pious living entity within this universe. Thus, Lord Shiva's position is constitutionally higher than that of Lord Brahma, although Lord Shiva appears as the son of Brahma. Here it is mentioned that even personalities like Brahma accept the so-called inauspicious flowers and the dust of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. Great sages like Marichi, Atri, it's not going to work. Just leave it. Great sages like Marichi, Atri, Brigu, and others among the 9 great sages who are descendants of Brahma also respect Lord Shiva in such a way because they all know that Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. In many Puranas, it is sometimes asserted that a demigod is elevated to such a high position that he is almost on an equal level with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the conclusion that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is confirmed in every scripture. Lord Shiva is described in the Brahma Samhita to be like curd or yogurt. Curd is not different from milk, since milk is transformed into curd. In one sense, curd is also milk. Similarly, Lord Shiva in one sense, Lord Shiva is in one sense the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in another sense, he is not. Just as curd is milk, although we have to distinguish between the two. These descriptions are in the Vedic literature. Whenever we find that a demigod occupies a position apparently more elevated than that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is just to draw the devotee's attention to that particular demigod. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 25th verse, that if one wants to worship a particular demigod, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is sitting in everyone's heart, gives one greater and greater attachment for that demigod, so that one may be elevated to the demigod's abode. Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. By worshiping demigods, one can elevate himself to the abodes of the demigods. Similarly, by worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one can be elevated to the spiritual kingdom. This is stated in different places in Vedic literature. Here, Lord Shiva is praised by Sati, partially due to her personal respect for Lord Shiva, since he is her husband, and partially due to his exalted position, which exceeds that of ordinary living entities, even Lord Brahma. Yeah, Lord Shiva is superior to Lord Brahma. The position of Lord Shiva is accepted by Lord Brahma. So Daksha, Sati's father, should also recognize him. That was the point of Sati's statement. She did not actually come to her father's house to participate in the functions, although before coming she pleaded with her husband that she wanted to see her sisters and her mother. That was a plea only, for actually at heart she maintained the idea that she would convince her father Daksha that it was useless to continue being envious of Lord Shiva. That was her main purpose. When she was unable to convince her father, she gave up the body he had given her, as will be seen in the following verses. So, Daksha was always criticizing Lord Shiva. He didn't have respect for him. And Sati, the daughter of Daksha, she was Shiva's wife. And she was trying her best to help her father understand that Lord Shiva is even more, let's say, spiritually potent than Brahma, and that he should be given all respect. However, her father, Daksha, was puffed up. He didn't want to accept that Lord Shiva could be such a great personality. So, it says here that the position of Lord Shiva is accepted by Lord Brahma. So Daksha, Sati's father, should also recognize him. That was the point of Sati's statement. She did not actually come to her father's house to participate in the function, although before coming she pleaded with her father that she wanted to see her sisters and her mother. That was a plea only, for actually at heart she maintained the idea that she would convince her father, Daksha, that it was useless to continue being envious of Lord Shiva. That was her main purpose. When she was unable to convince her father, she gave up the body he had given her, as will be seen in the following verses. So here we see that Lord Shiva has transcendental qualities that nobody else can emulate except Lord Krishna. However, many people misunderstand Lord Shiva because he has a garland of skulls. He smears the ashes of dead bodies on his body. He tries to help the most fallen people, many people who are rejected by all other, let's say, gurus. He accepts them and tries to elevate them. So, and then he also spends time in a crematorium. He puts the ashes of dead people on his body. He has a garland of skulls. So many people cannot understand who he is. But actually, he is very close to being equal to Krishna. He's very exalted personality. So Sati continued, if one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should, by force, cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender. And after that, one should give up his own life. So Sati is talking about the three ways of understanding if a person is criticizing a elevated pure devotee. If a pure devotee is insulted by someone, well, there's three possibilities. One, the person that insults a pure devotee should commit suicide. Two, the person who insults a pure devotee should beg forgiveness. Three, the person who insults a pure devotee should go away and stay away. So, in this explanation of this verse, it says, the argument offered by Sati is that a person who vilifies a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. But, by the same argument, Daksha could also defend himself by saying that since he was a Prajapati, the master of many living creatures, and one of the great officers of the great universal affairs, his position was so exalted that Sati should accept his good qualities instead of vilifying him. The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying but defending. If possible, she should have cut out Daksha's tongue because he blasphemed Lord Shiva. Yeah, whenever a person blasphemes a great devotee, either they leave that association right away, or they cut the tongue out of the person, or if they have the spiritual, let's say, advancement, they can convince the person that they've made a big mistake and they should bow down and ask for mercy from the person they offended. So that's why it says here, the argument offered by Sati is that a person who vilifies a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. But by the same argument, Daksha could also defend himself by saying that since he was a Prajapati, meaning a progenitor of many, many different living entities, the master of many living creatures, and one of the great officers of the great universal affairs, his position was so exalted that Sati should accept his good qualities instead of vilifying him. The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying but defending. If possible, she should have cut out Daksha's tongue because he blasphemed Lord Shiva. In other words, since Lord Shiva is the protector of religion, a person who vilifies him should be killed at once. After killing such a person, one should give up one's life. That is the process. But because Daksha happened to be the father of Sati, she decided not to kill him, but to give up her own life in order to compensate for the great sin she had committed by hearing blasphemy of Lord Shiva. Now that's a very profound statement. If we are in the company of people who vilify a pure devotee, or who vilify Krishna or Rama, or in this case, Lord Shiva, we should feel very, very bad because we might have been very sinful at another time, and that's why we're hearing such horrible things about pure devotees. So we should always leave the association of people who ridicule pure devotees. So Lord Shiva is a pure devotee. He is almost equal to Lord Krishna. So we should never hear any criticism of him. It says, the instruction set forth here in Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should not tolerate at any cost the activities of a person who vilifies or blasphemes an authority. If one is a Brahmana, he should not give up his body, because by doing so, he would be responsible for killing a Brahmana. Therefore, a Brahmana should leave the place or block his ears so that he will not hear the blasphemy. If one happens to be a Kshatriya, he has the power to punish any man. Therefore, a Kshatriya should at once cut out the tongue of the vilifier and kill him. But as far as the Vaishyas and Sudras are concerned, they should immediately give up their bodies. Sati decided to give up her body because she thought herself to be among the Sudras and Vaishyas. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:32, Striya Vaishyas tata Sudra. Women, that means fallen women, laborers, and the mercantile class are on the same level. Thus, since it is recommended that Vaishyas and Sudras should immediately give up their bodies upon hearing blasphemy of an exalted person like Lord Shiva, Sati decided to give up her life. What? Okay, yeah. Okay, well, we see how Sati was an exceptional person. She could not tolerate the fact that her husband, Lord Shiva, was insulted by her father, Daksha. Therefore, she committed suicide so that she would not have any connection to her father. Now, that's a pretty, let's call it, very extreme thing to do. But hearing the criticism and ridicule that her father had for Shiva, that was too much for her. And rather than, what she wanted to do was cut off any let's say, attachment or relationship with her father. So she committed suicide. Now, she took birth again. However, she gave an example that we should never hear ridicule or any type of blasphemous statements made about Krishna or Rama, or in this case, Lord Shiva, or any saintly persons. It is very sinful for someone to speak in that way, but it's also sinful to hear it and not do anything. If you hear someone blaspheming a genuine devotee, you should try and convince that person not to do it again. If they don't listen, then you should walk away from them, not associate with them. Or the third and most severe, let's say, punishment, you should cut their tongue out. But you probably don't want to do that, so you walk away from such persons. Okay, so the demigod saw Lord Shiva sitting under the tree, which was competent to give perfection to mystic yogis and deliver all people. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up all anger. Yeah, okay, so Lord Shiva became very angry when Daksha, when his wife committed suicide, because Daksha is the father of Sati. She became so upset that her father blasphemed Lord Shiva that she committed suicide. So it says, the demigod saw Lord Shiva sitting under that tree, which was competent to give perfection to mystic yogis and deliver all people. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up all anger. And the explanation of this verse is the following. In this verse, the word Maha Yoga Maya is very significant. Yoga means meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Maha Yoga means those who engage in the devotional service of Vishnu. Meditation means remembering or smaran. There are 9 different kinds of devotional service, of which smaranam is one process, meaning remembering. The yogi remembers the form of Vishnu within his heart. Thus, there were many devotees engaged in meditation on Lord Vishnu under the big banyan tree. The Sanskrit word maha is derived from the affix mahat. This affix is used when there is a great number or quantity. So Mahayogi indicates that there were many great yogis and devotees meditating on the form of Vishnu. Generally, such meditators are desirous of liberation from material bondage, and they are promoted to the spiritual world, to one of the Vaikuntha planets. Liberation means freedom from material bondage or ignorance. In the material world, we are suffering life after life because our bodily identification and liberation, and because of our bodily identification. And liberation is freedom from that miserable condition of life. Now, this is the real statement of our situation in the material world. In the material world, we are subject to birth, old age, disease, and death. Any person who is not dissatisfied by this very horrible cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death is in complete ignorance. We should not tolerate such a thing. And we should strive to find a solution to this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, because that cycle keeps going on and on and on, life after life. Is there a solution to this? Yes, there is. The solution is to become a genuine devotee of Krishna and engage in devotional service for Lord Krishna with love and devotion, and spend your life always thinking of the Lord, always talking about the Lord, always offering food or to the Lord, so the Lord offers back prasadam to you, and in every way keeping Krishna in your mind day and night, so that at the most important moment of your life, what is the most important moment of your life? It's the moment of death. So practice makes perfect. If you're always thinking of the Lord every day, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, Krishna is in your heart. He's the closest person to you. And when he sees that you take an interest in him by chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about him, and also associating with genuine devotees who are always talking about him, then he takes a special interest in you. Just imagine, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in your heart. He's the closest person to you. And he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can liberate you from the cycle of birth and death if you take an interest in him. However, most people don't take an interest in God or Krishna, even though Krishna is in the heart of everyone. He's the closest person. If we take an interest in Krishna, then he takes an interest in you, and he will give you knowledge, he will give you remembrance, he will give you peace, and he will give you protection. That is the best thing that could ever happen to a person, to come so close to Krishna by understanding that God is in your heart, and it becomes your friend because you take an interest in him. All right, so here it says that all the sages who were sitting with Lord Shiva, such as Narada and others, also offered their respectful obeisances to Lord Brahma. After being so worshipped, Lord Brahma, smiling, began to speak to Lord Shiva. And in the explanation it says, Lord Brahma was smiling because he knew that Lord Shiva is not only easily satisfied, but easily irritated as well. He was afraid that Lord Shiva might be in an angry mood because he had lost his wife, Sati, and had been insulted by Daksha. In order to conceal this fear, he smiled and addressed Lord Shiva as follows. Now this is Brahma speaking to Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma said, My dear Lord Shiva, I know that you are the controller of the entire material manifestation. The combination, father and mother of the cosmic manifestation, and the Supreme Brahman beyond the cosmic manifestation as well. I know you in that way. Now this is Brahma speaking to Shiva. Although Lord Brahma had received very respectful obeisances from Lord Shiva, he knew that Lord Shiva was in a more exalted position than himself. Lord Shiva's position is described in Brahma Samhita. There is no difference between Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva in their original positions, but still, Lord Shiva is different from Lord Vishnu. The example is given that the milk in yogurt is not different from the original milk from which it was made. So this example is given that Krishna is the milk and Shiva is the yogurt. So yogurt is the same thing as milk, but it has a little difference to it. So that's the only difference between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva. So this continues. My dear Lord, so this is Brahma speaking to Lord Shiva. My dear Lord, you create this cosmic manifestation, maintain it, and annihilate it by expansion of your personality, exactly like a spider creates, maintains, and winds up its web. Explanation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, the word Shiva Saktris is significant. Shiva means auspicious, and Shakti means energy. There are many types of energies of the Supreme Lord, and all of them are auspicious. Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara are called guna avatars, or incarnations of material qualities. In the material world, we compare these different incarnations from different angles of vision. But since all of them are expansions of the supreme auspiciousness, All of them are auspicious, although sometimes we consider one quality of nature to be higher or lower than another. The mode of ignorance, or tamoguna, is considered very much lower than the others, but in the higher sense, it is also auspicious. The example may be given herein, that the government has both an educational department and a criminal department. An outsider may consider the criminal department inauspicious, but from the government's point of view, it is as important as the education department, and therefore the government finances both departments equally without discrimination. And so it continues, my dear Lord, your Lordship has introduced the system of sacrifices through the agency of daksha, and thus one may derive the benefits of religious activities and economic development. Under your regulative principles, the institution of the 4 varnas and ashramas is respected. The brahmanas therefore vowed to follow this system strictly. So, Lord Shiva has introduced the system of sacrifices through the agency of daksha. Purport: the Vedic system of varna and ashrama is never to be neglected, for these divisions are created by the Supreme Lord himself for the upkeep of social religious order in human society. The brahmanas, as the intelligent class of men in society, must vow to steadily respect this regulative principle. The tendency in this age of Kali to make a classless society and not observe the principles of Varna and Ashrama is a manifestation of an impossible dream. Well, yeah, the Soviet Union, their number one purpose was to eliminate all the Varnas and Ashramas and make everyone a equal. They tried, but they failed. They could not destroy the Varna Ashrama system of living entities. Some people are Kshatriyas, some people are Vaishyas, some people are Sudras, and that's life. You can't change that. Of course, if a person is born a Sudra or even lower, they can be elevated to even the highest position of a Brahmana, or even higher than that, a pure Vaishnava, by the association of a devotee. But in general, these Varnas means your work, let's say, identification, and Ashrama, your spiritual identification, are can be, let's say, fluid. You can make advancement through the Varnas and through the Ashramas if you have the association of a genuine devotee. And you can achieve the highest position of Brahmana, or you can achieve the highest position of a pure devotee by the help of a bona fide guru or gurus. So here it says, the Brahmanas, as the intelligent class of men in society, must vow to steadily respect this regulative principle. The tendency in this age of Kali to make a classless society and not observe the principles of Varna and Ashrama is a manifestation of an impossible dream. Of course, I just said the communists tried to do that. They tried to eliminate all the Varnas, that means the positions of workers, and Ashrama, the position of holy people. They tried to eliminate that, but they failed. Destruction of the social and spiritual orders will not bring fulfillment of the idea of a classless society. one should strictly observe the principles of Varna and Ashrama. Varna means you're working, tendencies, and Ashrama means your spiritual tendencies. Okay, so I was born in a very low family of meat eaters. So I would be lower than a Sudra. Well, I was lower than a Sudra, right? But my association with His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, my Gurudev, taught me how to chant Hare Krishna, give up meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and all those bad habits, and take up becoming a serious devotee, following the regulative principles, chanting Hare Krishna every day, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and hearing lectures given by genuine devotees on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and also associating with genuine devotees and giving up the association of unholy people, people who have no faith or no respect for Krishna or God, and also giving up meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and eating only Krishna prasadam, and engaging in activities that are not what you would call heinous or horrible, such as being a butcher or being engaging in criminal activity or being a sex maniac and so forth. So it's very important that we associate with devotees. Tell me who your friends are, I can tell you who you are. So if we associate with genuine devotees, we'll also become a devotee. If we associate with unholy people, we will become like them. So the number one thing that a person must do is to decide who they associate with. If you decide to associate with people who use foul language, who are only thinking about making money and having illicit connections for sense gratification, and who are always ignoring God, you will become like them. But if you give up that association and associate with genuine devotees who always chant Hare Krishna, eat only prasadam, regularly hear lectures given by genuine devotees, also go out on Harinam Sankirtan and chant the holy names in public, and in general, be spiritually inclined 24 hours a day. Now you will make tangible spiritual, what you would call advancement. So everything depends on who you associate with. Therefore, we have to hear this spoken by genuine devotees. If you read it in a book, you might understand a little bit, but you might not take it seriously. If you hear it spoken by a genuine devotee, then this could be a life-changing experience. Therefore, it says that the Brahmanas, as the intelligent class of men in society, must vow to steadily respect this regulative principle. What is that? The tendency in this age of Kali to make a classless society and not observe the principles of Varna and Ashrama is a manifestation of an impossible dream. Destruction of the social and spiritual orders will not bring fulfillment of the idea of classless society. One should strictly observe the principles of Varna and Ashrama for the satisfaction of the Creator, meaning Krishna, For it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna that the four orders of the social system, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, are his creation. They should act according to the regulative principles of this institution and satisfy the Lord, just as different parts of the body all engage in the service of the whole. The whole is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his Virat Rupa, or universal form. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras are respectfully the mouth, arms, abdomen, and legs of the universal form of the Lord, as long as they are engaged in the service of the complete whole. Their position is secure. Otherwise, they fall down from their respective positions and become degraded. Okay, now what does this mean exactly? Well, when I first came in touch with devotees, I didn't really understand what they were doing. All I understood was that they would serve prasadam. That was my, level of understanding Krishna consciousness. It was prasadam. But little by little, by taking prasadam and associating with devotees, I began to read and hear lectures on Bhagavad Gita. Now, before that, when I didn't have any association with devotees, one day I went to the Indian consulate in Seattle, and they had a library. What? Yeah, in Paris, yeah. And I went into their library and I looked at all the books. And there were big books like this, and different aspects of Vedic knowledge. And I looked at it a little bit, and I decided to put a big X on Hinduism and Vedic knowledge because I couldn't understand anything. I looked at those books, I read a little bit about this one and that one. It didn't make any sense to me. Now, why was that? Because at that time, I was eating meat, and I was engaged in illicit activities. So I couldn't make heads or tails of any of the books in the library. However, later on, when I met devotees and began to have Krishna Prasadam, and also began to chant Hare Krishna, then when I read Bhagavad Gita, it started to make sense. It so much sense that I gave up reading any other book and just stayed with the Bhagavad Gita until today. That's like 60 years ago, right? Why? Well, for example, a Christian priest or minister, he reads the Bible his whole life long, right? And he preaches from the Bible. The Muslims, they have one book, it's called Quran. So the Muslim priest, he'll always read from the Quran. Doesn't read from any other books. In the same way, in Krishna consciousness, we basically read only one book. It's called Bhagavad Gita. Now, there are other books also, but Bhagavad Gita is the main book. And by the way, Bhagavad Gita is the oldest book in the history of the world. Bhagavad Gita was first spoken by Krishna to Surya millions and millions and millions of years ago. And then the last time it was spoken by Krishna to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. So it is the oldest book in the history of the world. And there's no book equal to Bhagavad Gita. Not the Bible, not the Quran, not the Buddhist literature. There's no book that's equal to it. Now, you might say, Hari Vilas is very, he is very biased. Yeah. No, I'm not biased. I've read those other books also, Buddhist books and Christian books, etc. No. Bhagavad Gita is the greatest literature in the history of the world. Why? Because if you read, or better than reading Bhagavad Gita is hear it spoken by a genuine devotee, you will be on the fast track of the last lifetime in this world. And if you can remember even one word of Bhagavad Gita at the moment of death, you go back to Godhead. So the best word to remember at the moment of death is Hare Krishna. Then you go back to the spiritual world. That should be the real purpose of life. So every one of us is going to be born and going to get older and eventually die. So the most important moment in the life of a person is right before they die. Because if you can remember Krishna and say his name right before you die, you go immediately to the spiritual world and never come back to the material world. But if you're thinking about your 401k, or you're thinking about who's going to get my car, or you're thinking about so many other things at the moment of death, you'll go back into a whole cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death, and no guarantee that you'll have a human body. There are 8,400,000 different species. To get to the human body, we have gone through all those species. Now that we have the human body, we should understand the human body has a huge responsibility. It's only in the human body that one can understand a relationship with God or Krishna. If we waste that opportunity and just eat, sleep, mate, and defend like animals, then at the moment of death, we'll think of mundane things and we'll go back to the animal world and have to wait a very, very long time to come back again to the human form. We should take this seriously. If you have a human body, that means that it's a great blessing, because it's only in the human body that you can understand your relationship with God or Krishna. The animals can't do that. So, if you have a human body, then you should understand what is the real purpose of the human body. It's to understand your relationship with Krishna or God and act in that relationship through devotional service, through seva. If you do that, then Krishna guarantees that you'll come back to him in the spiritual world for eternal life. And if you don't do that, then you'll stay in the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. In nature, there are many cycles. There's water cycle, there's the weather cycle, there's this, there's that. There are all kinds of cycles. There's the birth, death, old age, disease cycle. The only way to get out of all these cycles is to surrender completely to Krishna and follow his instructions. Now, what are his instructions? Chant Hare Krishna. Eat only Krishna prasadam. Regularly hear Bhagavad Gita spoken by genuine devotees, and, if possible, come with the devotees on Harinam Sankirtan to spread the glories of the holy name of Krishna so that many people can make spiritual advancement. Actually, it's very simple. However, if we simply ignore this, then we'll get stuck, or we'll get, let's say, we're like prisoners in the grip of Maya Devi. Now, Maya Devi, she has a tough job. She has to help people forget Krishna. But Maya Devi has two different functions. She can keep people far away from Krishna, or she can also help them come closer to Krishna. So, if we are simply eating meat, fish, eggs, and other horrible things, and in other words, we're promoting meat eating, and we engage in illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and so forth, then Maya Devi will keep you a prisoner. And what is the prison? It's forgetting Krishna and engaging only in mundane activities. We're not meant to engage in mundane activities. We are meant to engage in spiritual activities as a human being. Now, a dog is meant to engage in mundane activities. But a human being has a body in which you have the possibility to understand your relationship with God or Krishna. So we should understand what it means to have a human body, and let's say the summum bonum of the human body is to become Krishna conscious and understand your relationship with Krishna and function in that relationship through devotional service. Okay, so that's a summary of Krishna consciousness. If we take this seriously, all our problems in material life will go away. Guaranteed. If you have any problems, this is the solution. Chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Eat only Krishna Prasadam. If you don't know how to have Krishna Prasadam, I'll explain it to you right now. You purchase vegetarian food, but without onion and garlic. Bring it home and cook it, and then offer the food first to Krishna on a little altar and say a few simple prayers. We have in our bookstore right here a little book that only costs $1 and explains all the simple mantras you can say to offer the food to Krishna. So here, Prabhuji here is going to show you this book that only costs $1, but it's worth millions of dollars because it can liberate you from the cycle of birth and death. So you don't have to give it to me, just let people see it. Yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah. It tells you the mantras to offer your food to Krishna. It's very important. Very, very important that before we eat, we should first offer the food to Krishna. And you offer it with the mantras in that book, the very simple mantras, so that they're sanctified. Now, if you eat sanctified and purified prasadam, your life, your body, your health becomes purified and spiritualized. You want to have a spiritualized life. For example, a pregnant woman, if she eats only Krishna prasadam, then her daughter or son will have a body made of prasadam. And if you, even though you're an adult, start eating only prasadam, then your whole body becomes Krishnized or prasadamized. So everybody has to eat. But if the art of eating is to eat only prasadam, that's the art of eating. Most people are ignorant. They don't know what to eat. They don't know how to eat. They're just like animals, right? But there's an art of how to eat and what to eat. That is something you can learn in that little book, right? Why don't you show people that book again? Is it on the screen? Huh? Everybody can see that? Can you see it, sir? Okay. It only costs $1. But it's worth $1 million. Your life and your eternal life is worth millions and millions of dollars, right? But you can achieve the millions and millions of dollars life by buying this book, which is only $1. See, that's how powerful this book is. You know? Okay, so then I'm going to read one other thing. See, the explanation here about Daksha and his daughter Sati is very significant because Sati did everything she could do to convince her father to respect Lord Shiva, and he refused categorically. Now, this put Sati in a very difficult situation because she could not tolerate that her father was disrespecting Lord Shiva. What did she do? She committed suicide. Now, usually committing suicide, if a person commits suicide, they immediately become a ghost. But in the case of Sati, she didn't become a ghost. She took birth again, but this time not related to her father. She committed suicide so that any connection to her father would be finished and never again have any connection to him. But she took birth again right away, and again she came in contact directly with Lord Shiva, who she was married to previously. So we see that everything depends on what your consciousness is, especially at the moment of death. So basically, real knowledge is to prepare for the moment of death. That's the best knowledge you can learn. And they don't teach that in school. Is there any class in any university or any high school of how to prepare yourself for the moment of death? No, there isn't. But that is the most important information you need to have, because number one, you don't know when you're going to die. It could be now, or it could be 50 years or 60 years from now. So if you have the knowledge by which you can free yourself at the moment of death by chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is the most important knowledge. That is the most important, let's say, benediction you have, because it's going to save you from the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. You break that cycle and you go back to the spiritual world because you were able to remember Krishna at the moment of death. The moment of death is the most important moment in your life. Now, have you ever heard that? Let me see. Sir, have you ever heard that? That the moment of death is the most important moment in your life? You heard it here, right? Is anybody else? Is this the first time you're hearing that the moment of death is the most important moment in your life? Raise your hand. You're hearing this for the first time? You heard it, okay. You don't have to raise your hand. Anybody else hearing this for the first time? Yes. See, thank you for raising your hands. The moment of death is the most important moment in your life, and you have to prepare for it. And the best way to prepare for it has been made very easy. Right now, you should make a decision to chant the holy names of Krishna every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have our beads and made with sacred wood, and we chant every day, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, on these beads. And if you want to become initiated in Krishna consciousness and take vows of seriously following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, that means you're going to be on a fast track to go back to Godhead. And the whole thing is, the basis of that is chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, especially on these beads. So we should take it seriously. This is traditional. This was the original culture of Bharat, that people knew that if they could chant on their beads every day the holy names of the Lord, then they would be able to remember the name of the Lord at the moment of death and go back to Godhead. So practice makes perfect. We should think about what is going to happen to me in this lifetime. Where am I? What am I destined to be? And how can I free myself from this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease? We should think seriously about it. This is the most important education, to know how to break this vicious cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. How many people think like this? Not many people. Why? They think about making money, they think about the stock market, they think about baseball, football, or soccer. They think about so many things. But they don't think about the most important thing. How am I going to free myself from this vicious cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease? Right? You think about that? You do? It's because I told you, right? Yeah. So, let's see. Let's read a little bit more here. This is Sati speaking to her husband. She says, O most auspicious Lord, you have ordained the heavenly planets, the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, and the impersonal Brahman sphere as the respective destinations of the performers of auspicious activities. Similarly, for others who are miscreants, you have destined different kinds of hells, which are horrible and ghastly. Yet sometimes it is found that their destinations are just the opposite. It is very difficult to ascertain the cause of this. And that this is a really wonderful verse. And the explanation of this verse follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called the Supreme Will. It is by the Supreme Will that everything is happening. It is said, see, Krishna only thinks of something and it happens. That's a will. He wills it and it happens. He doesn't have to do any physical work. Everything happens simply by his willing it. The Supreme Personality of God is called the Supreme Will. It is by the Supreme Will that everything is happening. It is said, therefore, that not a blade of grass moves without the Supreme Will of God or Krishna. Generally, it is prescribed that performers of pious activities are promoted to the higher planetary systems. Devotees are promoted to the Vaikunthas, or spiritual worlds, and impersonal speculators are promoted to the impersonal Brahman, effulgence. But it sometimes so happens that a miscreant like Ajamila is immediately promoted to the Vaikuntha Loka simply by chanting the name of Narayana. Yes. I don't know if you know the history. Ajamila, he began by being educated up until age 16 as a devotee. But when he was 16, he saw a low-class man and woman in the forest having sex. And it affected his mind. And from that point on, he became a sense gratifier and committing all kinds of sins. And he married a prostitute. And in order to supply money for the prostitute, he would sometimes lie, cheat, steal, etc. So basically, he had an abominable life. All because he saw a low-class man and woman having sex in the forest. So this went on a long time. But at the moment of death, he was with one of his sons, and the son that he was with, he named him Narayana, because before he had come in contact with Krishna consciousness. So he names his son Narayana. And now he's with his son, and he has like a heart attack, and he knows he's going to die. And the last thing he says is he calls his son Narayana. And because he did that, the Vishnu Dutas, the helpers of Lord Vishnu, came to take him to the spiritual world. But at the same time, the Yamadutas, the agents of Lord Yamaraj, the agents of Yamaraj, they also came to take him. And now that there was an argument between the Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas. So eventually the Yamadutas, they went back to see their guru, who was, what's his name? Yamaraj. And they said, look, we just came in touch with these Vishnu Dutas, and there was this person, Ajamil, was very sinful, and we were going to take him, put him into hell, but they refused to let go of him, and they took him with them back to the spiritual world. We don't understand. Is this right or wrong? And Yamaraj explained to him that the Vishnu Dutas took him because he said the name of God in the moment of death. And why did he say that? Well, he didn't really mean God. He had given his son's name, Narayan. So the last thing he said was he was calling his son Narayan because he was having a heart attack and he was dying. And that's the last thing he said. And because of that, he went back to the spiritual world, even though he didn't really mean Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's how powerful the name Narayana or Krishna is, you say. So when the Yamadutas, the agents of Yamaraj, asked Yamaraj, is this factual? I mean, this man was very sinful, and he was destined to come with us to Narak. But he called his son Narayana. That was the last thing he said. And he went back to the spiritual world. Now you understand. This is a real history. This is not a made-up story. Therefore, we should all be very interested in hearing these pastimes of the Lord. And the only place you're going to hear it is in the temple. You're not going to hear it outside. That's how powerful the name of Narayana or Krishna is. That if you remember and have this word, Narayana or Krishna, on your lips at the moment of death, you go back to Godhead. Okay, so here it says, O most auspicious Lord, you have ordained the heavenly planets, the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, and the impersonal Brahman sphere as the respective destinations of the performers of auspicious activities. Similarly, for others, you who are miscreants, you have destined different kinds of hells, which are horrible and ghastly. Yet sometimes it is found that their destinations are just the opposite. It is very difficult to ascertain the cause of this. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called the Supreme Will, and it is by the Supreme Will that everything is happening. It is said, therefore, that not a blade of grass moves without the Supreme Will. Generally, it is prescribed that performers of pious activities are promoted to the higher planetary systems. Devotees are promoted to the Vaikunthas, or spiritual worlds, and impersonal speculators are promoted to the impersonal Brahman effulgence. But it is sometimes so happens that a miscreant like Ajamila is immediately promoted to the Vaikuntha Loka simply by chanting the name of Narayana. Although when Ajamila uttered this vibration, he intended to call his son Narayana. Lord Narayana took it seriously and immediately gave him promotion to the Vaikuntha Loka, despite his background, which was full of sinful activities. Similarly, King Daksha was always engaged in the pious activities of performing sacrifices, yet simply because of creating a little misunderstanding with Lord Shiva, he was severely taken to task. The conclusion is, therefore, that the Supreme Will is the ultimate judgment. No one can argue upon this. A pure devotee, therefore, submits in all circumstances to the Supreme Will of the Lord, accepting it as all auspicious. The purport of this verse, Tate nukampartam susamikshamani bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hrit vak vipurbir vidadan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadayabak. The purport of this verse is that when a devotee is in a calamitous condition, or a very difficult condition, he takes it as a benediction of the Supreme Lord and takes the responsibility himself for his past misdeeds. In such a condition, he offers still more devotional service and is not disturbed. One who lives in such a disposition of mind, engaged in devotional service, is the most eligible candidate for promotion to the spiritual world. In other words, such a devotee's claim for promotion to the spiritual world is assured in all circumstances. Okay, my dear Lord, devotees who have fully dedicated their lives unto your lotus feet certainly observe your presence as Paramatma in each and every being. And as such, they do not differentiate between one living being and another. Such persons treat all living beings equally. They never become overwhelmed by anger like animals, who can see nothing without differentiation. Okay, so an explanation to this verse is, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes angry or kills a demon, materially this may appear unfavorable, but spiritually it is a blissful blessing upon him. Therefore, pure devotees do not make any distinction between the Lord's anger and his blessings. They see both with reverence to the Lord's behavior with others and themselves. A devotee does not find fault with the behavior of the Lord in any circumstances. So if you're fortunate enough to be killed by Krishna, you go back to the spiritual world. And all the sins that you have committed are whitewashed. So whether you surrender to Krishna in this lifetime and become a devotee, or you are killed by Krishna Both ways, you go back to the spiritual world because you come in contact with Krishna. It's just like a young child who accidentally puts his hand in the fire. Immediately, he gets burned. The fire doesn't say, "Oh, my dear young boy, you didn't know what you were doing. I won't burn you." No, immediately he gets burned. And the same way, if you do anything in your lifetime for Krishna, it becomes an eternal asset. And it will save you from taking birth as an animal in your next life. You'll take birth as a devotee, and you'll begin from the point you ended in your previous life. In other words, you can never be a loser in Krishna consciousness. If in your previous life you did 1% service for Krishna, and your next lifetime you get another human body, and you begin from 2%. So, therefore, if you want to make spiritual progress, this is the way to do it. Engage in devotional service to Krishna, and whatever you do in this lifetime for Krishna, it becomes an eternal asset. And this guarantees that your next life, you'll be a human being, and you'll begin from the point where you stopped in your previous life. That means that Krishna is making these special arrangements to do everything to help people go back to the spiritual world where we originally came from. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question about anything I said or about any subject related to Krishna consciousness? Anybody would like to ask a question? By the way, always remember, you don't ask a question, you don't learn anything. The whole Bhagavad Gita is questions and answers. Arjuna has many, many questions, and Krishna answers all of them. So it's by asking questions that we learn. So, does anybody have a question to ask? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll start chanting Hare Krishna until we get a question. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Any of the ladies have a question? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any of the teenagers have questions? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. You have a question? No? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. There should be one question. Somebody must have a question. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Anybody have a question? You have a question. You're smiling. That means you have a question, right? Give her the microphone. Speak into the microphone.
Okay. Okay. My question was, why Sati decided to why'd she decided to go to the sacrifice even though Lord Shiva tried to tell her not to?
Okay, did you hear what she said? What did she say? Say it out loud. Well, she's a woman. So the women never listen to what their husbands say.
Simple answer.
Am I right or wrong? That doesn't mean she's bad, but that's the women are like that. They never listen to what their husband says. Hare Krishna. Does that answer your question? Any other questions? Don't be afraid to ask a question. Any other questions? Yes, don't be afraid. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Maharaj,
Rama Rama, Hare
I
Hare.
want
Yes,
a
sir.
serious answer to the question that she asked.
What's that?
I want a serious answer to the question she asked.
A serious answer
Yeah.
to the question.
Yeah.
What was your question?
Her question was, why did Sati go to the Daksha Yajna when Shiva advised not to go?
Right. Well, ostensibly, it was to associate with her sisters and relatives. But her real purpose was to convince her father to give up his animosity toward Shiva, right? That was her real reason. Her, stated purpose was to associate with her sisters that she hadn't seen for some time. But her real purpose was to convince her father to not insult Shiva. So she tried her best. But when she saw her father was not interested at all at respecting Shiva, she made a very serious decision, because she was born from the semen of her father. She decided to cut off any relationship with her father. Therefore, she committed suicide. Then she took birth again. Right? But the whole point is that when a person speaks, let's say, with rancor or anger or with blasphemous words to a pure devotee, it's very, very serious sin. Now, what to do? Well, there's three possibilities. One, you walk away. Two, you try and convince him to not do that. And three is you cut their tongue out. Now, you probably don't want to cut their tongue out. You might try to convince them, if you have, if you're well trained in Krishna conscious philosophy, you might be able to convince them to stop acting like that and using such, ridicule of a pure devotee. Or you can, run away, go away. So we should never hear blasphemy of a pure devotee. Jai Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. Blasphemy of a pure devotee is like the worst thing you could do. And the sinful reaction is very great. That's why a person who blasphemes Krishna will definitely get the sinful reaction for that is very, very, let's say, dire. And a person will suffer terribly. So, how can a person stop that horrible, destiny that they're going to have? Well, they can surrender themselves to a genuine devotee and ask for forgiveness, and then receive instruction from that devotee of how to purify themselves from such negative thoughts. You see, today you have weapons of mass distraction, like the television, the cell phone, and all kinds of gadgets that we have. They're all weapons of mass distraction that takes our mind away from God or Krishna. So, how can we, let's say, free ourselves from the addiction to cell phones and movies and all kinds of, let's say, books that are sacrilegious and so forth? It's only by the association of genuine devotees. When you associate with genuine devotees, they're not going to talk nonsense. They're not going to talk about baseball, football, basketball, so forth, this ball, that ball. They're going to talk about serious things, like how to develop love and devotion for Krishna. That's a real subject, how to develop love and devotion for Krishna. And so that's what we should ask. Those are the type of questions we should ask. We should ask, how can I make spiritual advancement? How can I ever develop love and devotion for Krishna? How can I become a devotee? These are questions that we should have, and we should carefully hear the answers from genuine devotees. If we have no questions, we're not going to learn anything, right? In fact, you probably forget anything that you did learn by not asking questions, right? So, are there any questions? Okay. Yes? Oh, okay. There are two questions. That's good.
Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, would we consider Daksha as demon?
Shiva is what?
Daksha. Would we consider Daksha as demon, having demonic qualities?
Okay, well, Daksha, yeah, obviously he has his enviousness of Lord Shiva. So that's a demoniac quality, yes. But he's an exalted person, though. He's a Prajapati. He's given life to many, many living entities. So it's hard to say that he's a demon because he's one of the Prajapatis in the history of the world, right? He's not an ordinary man. But his jealousy and anger toward Lord Shiva destroyed all the good things that he's done. It's just like, however, Sati, his daughter, Sati, she committed suicide so that she would not have any relationship to her father, Daksha, right? That's a pretty serious message, right? In other words, she gave a message to her father that is shocking. And then she took birth again, of course. But her father was devastated by that. Right? So, why are we hearing these pastimes? Because to instruct us in what we should not do and what we should do. So, we should never insult or blaspheme a pure devotee. That's like the worst thing you could do in your life. On the other hand, whenever we see a genuine devotee, we should hanker to have their association and ask questions and hear their answers and offer service to such people, because they can give you eternal knowledge Now in school, everyone's learning temporary knowledge. And by the way, they change oftentimes the books, right? Because conditions change, and so a book that was being read in the 1920s as part of the curriculum, it's not there anymore. It's a new curriculum, they say. But Bhagavad Gita has been there since the beginning of time, and it's never been changed. That's real literature. That's real literature, you see. So if you're going to read a book, you should read Bhagavad Gita, as it is, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If you want to know the truth about who you are, who Krishna is, and how you can have a real connection to Krishna and eventually attain eternal life. That's real literature, right? All these other books that you buy, how to become a millionaire in 3 weeks. That's not really going to help you at all. And by the way, you're not going to become a millionaire in 3 weeks. Or how to do this or how to do that, all the how to do books. There might be interesting things, but it's not really going to help you at the moment of death. Right? So, did I answer your question? Yeah, okay. You had a question, Mataji? You had a question, Mataji? No, she has a question.
Maharaj, you have answered the question, Maharaj, but in a way, no matter, even the mundane people should not kill themselves. Suicide is not a good thing. But how can we accept that Sati have done it, even though, and what is his sacrifice?
So your question is, why did Sati commit suicide?
Yeah, to get away from his dad, but that is not the choice, right? No matter what.
Well, she didn't want to have any connection to her father. Now, Sati is not an ordinary person. You have to understand, she's a very highly evolved, pure devotee, basically. So her committing suicide in order to eliminate any connection at all to her father is not the same as, somebody, an ordinary person committing suicide. And right away, she took birth again. Right? So she's a very, very exceptional person. We need to hear these pastimes in the Vedas because there are good examples. Now you might say, oh, what's good about committing suicide? But in the case of Sati, it was good because she ended any connection she had with her father. And then she took birth again and maintained, a spiritual life with her husband. Who's her husband? Her husband is Shiva, right? So the relationship of Sati with Shiva is an eternal relationship. But the relationship with her father was not eternal, right? Because he violated her by insulting Lord Shiva. And she tried her best to convince him not to do it, but he was adamant. So therefore, she cut her relationship. And the same way, we should not have any relationship with unholy people. We should cut our relationship with unholy people. Why? Because you are, let's say, known by the people you associate with. So if you associate with unholy people, that means you're an unholy person. But if you associate with saintly people, that means that you're a saintly person. So everything depends on who you associate with. That's why it's very dangerous to send your children to a school in America, because they're going to come in touch with all kinds of unholy kids and teachers, you see. So we should homeschool our children and save them from being what you would call contaminated by the association of unholy other kids and unholy teachers. We should always examine the qualification of the teacher. What if the teacher, smokes or smokes marijuana, not in the school, but, off school, or it might be a criminal, or you don't know. So therefore, we should never put our children 8 hours in prime time in the association of unholy people. It's a big, big mistake. And then you'll be surprised that your kid will develop bad habits, things that you never taught them. They learned it in school with associating with other kids and associating with teachers who are basically atheistic. Any other questions? Any other questions? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we will chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radharamana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Follow Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Bolo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Bolo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Bolo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Chaitanya, 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 Chaitanya.